Hey guys, it is time to go racing again. This time for the last time of 2018. This is the Battle Creek Hare Scramble, round 11 on 9/16/2018. I didn't get it on the first kick. I got it on the second kick though, and from what I can count, I was in 19th place coming off the line and throwing it into the first turn here. I got up to either 7th or 8th, I couldn't really tell. But yeah, this track was awesome. Battle Creek always is. It's usually the location for the National Hare Scramble. And this year we didn't do a National. Got Stanko right in front of me there. I was trying not to hit him and ended up hitting the back tire of whoever that was. I don't even know. I ended up on the ground. My back got run over. Definitely not intentional, but my hydration pack was basically ripped off of me. The plastic clips that kind of keep it in adjustment were broken, and so the pack was actually hanging by my neck for the remainder of my race. So I got some catching up to do now. I am in 25th out of 25. So we're gonna take off, and yeah, this track, like I said, it's always a great one. It beat me up today. I tried to take it on, and it definitely won. So first thing coming into these woods here, I thought, oh man, there's no way I'm catching the field in these woods. It's too tight. But in typical Battle Creek fashion, it opened back up, and we get back out onto the motocross track. I love the motocross track here. It's a lot of fun. It's fast. The woods sections are, for the most part, pretty open and fast. So it's a great time. I actually thought about showing you the second lap, because the second lap I was able to kind of get away from the group. Right there I was passing Mark Hardman. First time I've seen him in a while. He said he just had a baby about 4 months ago. So congratulations, Mark. Who do we got here? Ryan Frost is at the back of the pack. He's normally like a top 5 or higher rider. So I'm figuring at this point I got to do everything I can do to just, stay with him, and maybe between the two of us we can weave our way up through the tail section of this pack and get up towards the front again. So I had enough time before this race to get out onto the enduro section here and get kind of a sneak peek of what we were going to be looking at. So I already knew the line I wanted to take. So I go off to the right here, and I know I got to keep my speed up down this hill, make this little double. I'll go past, maybe 4 guys there, not really sure. The enduro section here today, I will say kudos to Battle Creek. You guys gave us what we asked for last year, this year. Last year, all these tires had been ripped out. The enduro section really wasn't much to speak of, and they put it back. And I know for the guys that raced the sprint enduro, it was the same thing. But for the guys that didn't race the sprint enduro, it was new, like me. So that was really fun. Really enjoyed that. Got my buddy Deck here in front of me, and boy, I'll tell you what, this guy can ride out in the woods when it's just the two of us. He can ride. If you watch my videos, we ride together. Not a lot, but more than I ride with just about anybody else. So I'm trying to make a move on him. Just letting him know where I'm at. He's trying to get out of the way. I get around him. That's the last time I'll see Deck for the race. Well, until I was on the sideline. You'll see what happens there later. And we're just going to slowly start picking guys off. So I'm going to sit back for a little bit and just kind of jump in with the commentary where it's necessary. Enjoy the track, enjoy the ride. I was feeling pretty good today, even after falling in the third turn, whatever it was. I was feeling pretty confident in this race. I really like the terrain here. With the speed we were carrying, with the Rudy kind of whooped out trails, it did kind of do a number on my back just in the little bit that I was able to ride. I'll let you guys know right now, I made it 2 full laps, and very shortly after I started my 3rd lap, I was taken out. Dougie Z got a front row seat to that chaos. I don't think Dougie wears a camera. I wish he did, because, boy, I went down hard, and like I said, it really took me out. But, again, you know, we're working our way up through the back of the pack here, and eventually here, we're going to see Ryan Frost again, and I'm going to try and stay with him, but, yeah, the action in this first lap was pretty good, which, like I said, I started to say earlier, I almost showed you guys the 2nd lap, because I figured, you know, I knew that I was in traffic this whole basically the whole first lap, and I didn't like it because I wasn't riding as fast as I was capable of riding. But after watching the video back a little bit, I realized even though I wasn't riding full speed, the action was pretty good. So I had to show you guys the first lap, because the 2nd lap, even though it was faster, wasn't as fun to watch. So I hope you guys enjoy the video, because I found it pretty entertaining to watch the battle. Now here, you know, we're just in some kind of tight stuff. They had a lot of stuff roped off, which really limited our ability to pick different lines. You know, towards the end of the race, it's pretty common to see tape blown through, but most of the time, at least on the first lap, we all try to, you know, stay on the marked course. Technically, when it's roped off, you're not supposed to go through it, so, you know, we were just trying to follow the rules a little bit. You know, there Ryan goes past me, I yelled at him, "Go get him!" You know, I'm not having any luck finding a way around these guys, so I'm just gonna follow him. If he can make his way around them, kudos. I'll just stay on his tail. So I will say I never took a bypass on this track today. Last year, if you remember watching my video of the National Hare Scramble we did here, there was I don't know, maybe 2 foot wide log bridge that I fell off of. It was about 12 feet in the air, jacked up my shoulder, and yeah, it did a little bit of damage to me. This year, the log bridge that I remember was not in this track. It seemed like it was in a totally different location. I may be wrong. They may have just made it wider. But yeah, the log bridge this year was much wider, much safer, so there was no need to bypass it. Had it had the log bridge from last year, I wouldn't have touched that thing with a 25-foot pole, because yeah, that bit me hard last year. So as you can see, Ryan's trying to make his way around these guys. He's having one heck of a time doing it, and that's why I just let him go past me. I'm not gonna fight with you to just ride these guys' butts, so I figure I'll let him do the dirty work of yelling and everything at these guys. You know, you guys know me, I'm not much of a yeller. If you're holding me up for a long time, then I'll scream at you. But otherwise, you know, to me it's really more fun just to kind of find my spot and pick you off. But Ryan was definitely hollering at these guys, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, at this point, we're far enough into the track, we have no idea if you're C, J, who you are. So if we're clearly able to ride faster than you, I have no problem with anybody yelling for me to get out of their way if they're that much faster than me. I started picking a couple different lines here, trying to get around these guys, and we'll leave them in the dust. This guy coming up, yeah, he held us up for quite a while. Ryan was yelling at him for a while. He didn't want to move. And again, you know, there's no rule, especially if you're in the same class. I mean, at this point we're clearly racing for position. But again, you got somebody that's all over you, yelling and hollering to get out of the way, even if they're in the same class. I mean, clearly they're on a different level than you. You know, I don't know. I probably would have gotten out of the way. You know, you can sort of hear him yelling. He just was not moving. And like I said, there's no rule in the rule book that says if you're racing within your class that you got to get out of the way. There's technically no rule that says you got to get out of the way, period. It's a courtesy thing. But again, maybe you should have gotten out of the way. The way that we were being forced to ride to try and get around him was almost getting dangerous. And you'll see the aggravation when we do finally get around him. Not necessarily for me, but there was definitely some steam coming out of somebody's ears. One thing about this track that kind of surprised me is there was a couple corners where it was pretty easy to blow right past them. You know, I felt like the track was labeled pretty well, you know, taped off for the most part where it needed to be, but they did mention that there were one or maybe two spots that they had intentionally had like 3 different trails running together, and if you weren't paying attention to the arrows, you would go off track. See, I don't know if you can see Ryan there. He threw his number 1 finger in the air. Guy who was trying to pass was revving his engine, and you know, kind of a risky move there, pulling the clutch in and dumping it like he did. Almost hit me. Yeah, like I said, there were just some definitely some heated people right there that you know, if he'd have just gotten out of the way, it probably would have been so bad. But now I'm trying to keep up with Ryan, now that we finally got around him, and boy, Ryan was clearly hot, and so he left me in the dust. And shortly after getting around that guy, I screwed up. So you're going to see that in a second. I was surprised. We didn't really have any rain to speak of in the last 3 or 4 weeks. Right there, just a little bit muddy. Hit a bump a little bit wrong, and the front tire just washed out on me. All the progress that I had just made to get around everybody, and there's a weird rut formed here. I couldn't get good footing to get the bike started. I tried to get it started sitting on the bike like I normally would, and I could not get enough leverage to get a solid kick on it. In the meantime, I got guys slowing down, you know, balling up behind me. James Snellen just got around me there. He is, or was at least, in the position that my goal was, top 10 in points. He and I were basically race buddies last week at Muskegon. If you watch that video, there's a lot of footage of me and James racing each other there. So kind of felt like my buddy just drove away from me. But yeah, so I lost some positions there again, and it's time to make up more ground. So, yep. What I was saying though, I was a little bit surprised with the limited, well, as far as I know, we didn't get any rain in the last 3 or 4 weeks, and so I was a little bit surprised at how what the conditions were like out in these woods today. The dirt was really good. It was not dusty at all, and surprisingly, in some spots in these woods, it was actually a little bit muddy. I don't know where the mud came from, but unless they somehow found a way to get out here and water the trail, I don't know. The conditions were perfect. As you saw there, you know, we got one nice, fast, wide open section. You had a couple of them on this layout this time, which we normally do have 2 nice, fast sections. There was a third one this time that kind of caught me off guard. That guy, the sun, you couldn't see what happened, but he just jacked up on the brakes, and back tire came way up in the air, almost went over the bars, and he just kind of tipped it over in those trees. But yeah, I don't know. At this point, I really loved this track. I loved Muskegon last week, and I loved the Twin Bay track. So I really don't know what to vote for track of the year, because for sure this race, Twin Bay and Muskegon, if they weren't equal, they were so close that it's a tough one. I think that I may have to vote for Battle Creek as track of the year this year, just because, you know, they've really stepped it up, not only with the terrain in the woods, but, you know, the motocross track here is so good. And although I'm not an ex-motocross guy, I really do love hitting the jumps. So I don't know. I'm torn. I'll make up my mind when it comes to it. So at this point, I've kind of decided that I'm not going to push so hard to try and get back around these guys. I mean, I already passed most of them once. I know that I'm fast enough to get around them, so I'm just going to buy my time, wait for them to either get out of my way or wait for the hole to just pass them straight up. I think, well, I know from past races, from racing last year, that what typically happens to me is I get so excited on the first lap, I make all kinds of mistakes, and it ends up just costing me way too much time. And although I didn't really make any mistakes from pushing too hard this first lap, you know, I had a couple mistakes that could have been avoided that made me crash, and I figured I might as well just tone it down just a little bit and see if I can't keep it up on 2 wheels. Here, I was trying to find a different line through the rocks to get around him. It was definitely a slower line. Second lap through, I stayed on the center line through there and just blitzed right through it, no problem. So, yeah, that was a line mistake. But if you're going to try and pass somebody in an obstacle section, you've got to go on a different line. Otherwise, you know, if you're better than them, or if you go through it better than they do, and you're on the same line, there's nowhere to go except into the back of them. And if they fall, you run over them. So, you know, definitely wouldn't have been a smart move to go on the same line. However, he made it through clean, so it would have worked out. So I did like how many bypasses they had, because, you know, especially for the newbie riders, a lot of these obstacles can be pretty intimidating. So a lot of times the bypass is a better option. And, you know, it definitely gave me an opportunity to get around the slower guys that decided to take the bypass without really any challenge, which, you know, that always works out. In a tighter track, when it's harder to pass, you know, if you have bypass sections, it really helps the faster guys get towards the front of the field so that they're not being congested by slower guys. I'm pretty sure that he was thinking about letting me go around him, but decided against it after he looked behind him. I don't know. It didn't bother me. Right here, I'll get past him. So for this race, I just recently bought a knobby knife to recut the tread on my tires. And so, you know, this track, especially the motocross section, is mostly just really deep sand. So typically I would have leaned more towards running my sand tire on this track, but you know, if you look at these trails, you know, the sand tire in these trails, once the roots start getting exposed, I just thought better of it. You know, there's already enough logs and roots and stuff sticking out right here on the first lap that I think the sand tire would have been a bad choice. So I did end up recutting the lugs on my enduro tire and went ahead and ran that, which worked out pretty good for me. You'll see I had a little bit of traction issues. I think it would have been much worse if I had the sand tire on. So all in all, I think I made the right decision. But just trying to get around these guys, you know, we got a couple guys stopped here. You know, they're clearly just letting people go. But yeah, I was definitely being held up. Felt like hollering, but again, I had made enough mistakes earlier in this lap that I really felt like, you know, I was probably just better off, like I said, hanging back and just waiting for the right opportunity to get around these guys, and I do. Right there, could have made a little different line selection and gotten around him, but one of the problems with being so close to the guys in front of you, as it makes it awfully hard to see different line opportunities unless the trail is nice and open. So a couple times here there were definitely areas I could have gone a different way, but realistically I either didn't see the line until it was too late, or if I did see the line, it was in a way that I really didn't feel like I could have gotten enough faster to actually make the paths clean, so I just held back. But now we're getting back towards the motocross track. This is just a little jog between wooded sections, but this is definitely going to get more into where I can let the little 250, you know, open up and gain some ground on these guys. This section here is the third faster section, and James Thelen and I right there, we both hit that way too fast, and if you missed the actual turn, it was just a mud pit right there. Thank God it wasn't too deep, because that could have been ugly. Didn't lose any time, just got a little dirty. Now James and I think I ride with a little bit more aggression than he does. Obviously, you know, we're in a similar points chase. I think at this point I was maybe 12th in points, I think, and James was in 10th. Like I said, you know, 10th was my goal for the end of the season. I wanted to be in 10th or higher, and ultimately I think, you know, the shenanigans that happened at Valley, that really hurt me. I lost, I want to say it was 6 points at Valley for being docked a lap, and that really, it would have at least gotten me up to 11, and possibly helped me get into 10th. It's hard to say, but yeah, I think this season I'm going to be ending up in 12th or 13th after this race. The results haven't been posted yet, so I'm not really sure. But yeah, now we're on to the fun part of the track, the motocross section. And if you watched my video last year, I've really stepped it up. I rode pretty fast during the sprint enduro last year on this track, but I just cleared that tabletop, almost cleared that double. That's a tough double to clear because the second hill is actually a little higher than the first. That jump right there was the only real change that they did to the track. There was a big step up there rather than just another big tabletop, which a lot of guys were freaking out about that. But you know, I watched the kids in the morning race, and at least I think there were 2, maybe 3 of the kids that were riding, you know, hitting that on their 85s, and they were able to clear it on their 85. So I figured, what the heck, I'm gonna go for it. I got the engine for it, so might as well. The whoop section here, in typical fashion, they're big whoops, stretched out. You got to be carrying a lot of speed to stay on top of them. I did my best, but you know, clearly I hit every one of them, but I still was able to maintain my speed. On my second lap, one of the photos that was posted to Facebook here, some of the A-class riders were coming through, lapping me on the second lap, and I actually stayed right with them on this motocross track, which felt pretty good. I mean, if I'm able to keep up with them on the motocross track, that means I'm at least doing something right. So this section here, I've always hated this section. It's just super, super hard and slippery. So you gotta kind of take it easy. And who's this? There's Shane Spangler coming through in lead. First lap, he's lapping me. So I knew Talon had to be close, right? I think he ended up lapping me about 2 minutes later. So right now, like I said, on the second or third turn, I was actually in 25th place, and by the time I came through scoring there, I was up to 12th. Right here, you see me fishtail. I should have learned, because that is the same spot that it's going to bite me after the second lap, and that took me out of the race. But show you this little section here because, well, it wasn't part of the start, so that's always a fun little stretch there, letting it open up. Usually that turn gets pretty chewed up before within just the first lap or two. It stayed, or it looked like it stayed in pretty good shape the whole race. Same thing with this whole section here. You know, this is all super sandy, and so normally it gets pretty tore up, but it looks like just a couple grooves were starting to form, and it was pretty easy to stay, you know, in check on it. So we're just going to finish up this section of the motocross track, and once we turn in the woods, we'll show just the tail end of this second lap. So we're just going back out on the motocross track, and my camera appears to have fallen down just a little bit. I'm not really sure. It wasn't as good an angle as it was for the first lap, which was part of why I didn't show the second lap instead of the first. But I figured I might as well show this to you because you can see part of it, and I actually rode the motocross track a little bit harder on this lap than I did on the first one. Right there, that little double, I hit way too fast. Felt like I was going to fly right off the track. Went for it here. Oh, it took a weird bounce, but that was okay. My daughter said that she thought I was going to crash when I hit the lip of that. Couldn't quite clear it. If I had made it around one more lap, I was going to hit it in third gear and really let it eat. But yeah, at this point, you know, with my hydration pack hanging from around my neck, I was planning on stopping after this lap. I knew I wasn't going to finish this race. It was too hot to ride without a hydration pack, and with it choking me, I knew that I would not be able to complete the race with it like that. So I figured I'd just ride as hard as I could, as long as I could. And on this lap, that was one of the A guys. There's the other A guy that passed me. So I wasn't as fast as them through the whoop section, but I tried as hard as I could to stay with them in these corners. And I felt like I rode them pretty good. But like I said, I was planning on pulling my water pack off and tossing it to my wife in the turn there. Because I figured I could get at least one lap in with no water, but I knew that I wouldn't be able to ride more than a couple laps without water. So again, you know, like I said, I was just trying to ride as hard as I could, as long as I could. Now, thanks to my aggressive motocross track riding, I am now right on the tail of Dougie Z, who, like I said, gets the first or front row seat to my race end. I wasn't wanting to push it too hard coming into scoring here because, you know, there's no reason to race, especially on the second lap. There's no reason to race coming into scoring. So, got Dougie here, and I figured once I had a chance to get around him right here, I was gonna do it with a little pizzazz. So I get around him right here, and I was gonna just kind of roost a little bit. Oh man. Like I said, I should have learned on the first lap when I fishtailed in that corner that it was too hard to get on it aggressively. The back end came around 180 degrees and just slammed me to the ground right on my elbow. 48 hours later, that's what my elbow looks like. It feels like it might be broken, but I'm in Canada, so I don't know. I hope you guys like this video. Like and subscribe if you want to. And yeah, we'll see you next season. Thanks for watching.